Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm Wesley, and this is my colleague Joanne. And today, we're going to review over the next 5 minutes about the topic of economics, specifically positive production externalities. Woo! All right. Today, we focus on the positive side of production. Now, will you please let my friend Joanne tell you about externalities?
So, what actually is a positive production externalities? A positive production externality occurs when the production of a good or services creates an external benefit for a third party, and that third party does not have to pay for it. The cost to society, what we call the Marginal Social Cost, is actually lower than the cost paid by the private firm, the Marginal Private Cost. A classic example is a beekeeper producing honey near an apple orchard. The bees pollinate the apple trees for free, benefiting the apple producer without cost. This becomes a classic case of market failure, as the market produces too little of beneficial good, meaning that the free market left on its own will not account for the positive spillover effects, which is the external benefits to society. Since firms only consider their marginal private costs and their own profits, they ignore the fact that society's marginal social cost is actually lower. In this case, the beekeeper only considers the revenue from the honey sales when deciding how many hives to maintain. However, society as a whole benefits more than that. The apple farmer gets free pollination, which increases apple yields. Because the beekeeper doesn't get paid for this extra benefit, they produces fewer hives, which means less honey and less pollination than what would be socially optimal. In other words, without government intervention or private arrangements like the apple farmer paying the beekeeper, the market won't naturally reach the socially optimal output. That's why positive production externalities are considered a form of market failure. The economy misses out on producing more goods that benefits everyone.
Let's look at the graph for these positive production externalities. Notice the two supply curves. The higher curve is the marginal private cost, MPC, representing the firm's costs. The lower curve is the marginal social cost, MSC, which is lower because of the external benefit. The demand curve represents both marginal private benefit, MPB, and marginal social benefit, MSB, since the externality involves only production. The triangle between Q and M and QOPT, and bounded by the MPC and the MSC curves, is the welfare loss, illustrating the lost benefit to society from underproduction.
As we can see, the welfare loss exists between the equilibrium quantity, QM, and the social optimum quantity, QOPT. To correct this underproduction, government have two main tools: direct government provision, where the government produces the good itself, like public education, healthcare, infrastructure, research and development, and many more, or more commonly, subsidies. A subsidy lowers the producer's private costs, encouraging them to increase output to the optimal level. A subsidy per unit to a firm of the good produced will equal to the external benefit, then the marginal private cost curve shifts downward or rightward. The result is to increase quantity produced by quantity optimal and to lower the price from PM to POPT.
A company known as WM invested $39 million in a new recycling technology purely for profit. However, this created massive unintended social benefits, including less landfill waste, cleaner air, and new higher skilled jobs for workers. This is a positive production externality, and WM is not paid for this societal gain, demonstrating a market failure since the company only earns private rewards. It invests less than what is optimal for society.